Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into something that, well, it can feel a little bureaucratic, a little in the weeds, until it completely tanks your revenue.
Exactly.
We're talking about provider credentialing, specifically for therapy clinics. So PT, OT, SLP, physical, occupational, and speech therapy.
And this is an area where the stakes are just incredibly high. I mean, for a therapy practice, you bring on a great new provider, but if they can't bill right away, that's a ticking time bomb for your cash flow.
So that's our mission for this deep dive.
Yeah, our mission is to really show you why having a specialist, someone who only does this, isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. It's a huge advantage over just, piling this work onto your in-house team.
Okay, so let's unpack that. We're talking about getting a new therapist approved by every single insurance network.
Right, Medicare, Medicaid, all the commercial ones, so that when they see a patient, you actually get paid for it.
And the core problem here, and this is just brutal, is the time it takes.
Ugh, it's a black hole of time. The whole process is so detailed, it's messy, and it can easily take 2 to 6 months to get done.
2 to 6 months.
And that's where the real problem starts. Because every single day that therapist sees patients but isn't credentialed with that patient's insurance. The claim is either denied on the spot or the payment is just held.
So it just disappears.
It cuts right into your revenue.
Yeah.
You hire that amazing pediatric OT you've been looking for, but if she can't bill the major insurers for 4 months, that's 4 months of cash you just don't have.
That's the conflict we're trying to solve.
Yeah.
And we found that the best way to do it breaks down into 5 key benefits, things we've pulled from, an AMA report, a government analysis.
We're going to show you how this kind of specialized support protects revenue, gets you up and running faster, cuts that administrative headache, reduces denials, and honestly, saves you money.
Okay, let's start with that immediate financial pain, that 2 to 6 month timeline. That's where all the trouble begins, right?
That's the heart of it.
Segment 1, the cash flow crisis and revenue protection.
Yeah.
So it's not just the paperwork being complicated, it's the waiting. We know payers can take 60, 90 days, sometimes even more, just to process an application that's already finished.
It creates what we call credentialing gaps.
Yeah.
And getting enrolled in all those insurance panels isn't just a nice to have, it's fundamental to your clinic's health.
So when a clinic hires a new PT and their start date isn't perfectly lined up with their credentialing.
Exactly. That provider starts seeing patients while they're still technically out of network for a bunch of plans.
Wait, I feel like a lot of people would think, okay, can we just hold the bill? We'll wait till they're approved, then send everything in at once. What's the real harm in being out of network for a month?
That's a really common thought, but delaying the billing is still, well, it's catastrophic for cash flow. First, you did the work, but you have no income for it. You can't use that money for rent or payroll. But second, and this is the really dangerous part, if you submit those claims after the fact, or if one slips through before approval, it often triggers an automatic hard denial.
And denial means?
It means a ton of back office work. Chasing appeals, arguing, rebilling, it's a huge administrative drain.
So the whole strategy here is just avoid the gap in the first place.
Exactly. Protecting revenue by avoiding gaps. A specialized approach gets everything done ahead of time, so services are billable from day one.
From the very first patient they see.
From the very first patient. It prevents that whole period of lost money, and, maybe more importantly, it avoids all that appeals work that just crushes an in-house team. It ensures the money arrives when you expect it to, not months later after you've fought a paper war.
And that difference, day one versus maybe 6 months and a pile of appeals later, that's the difference between a clinic that's growing and one that's just trying to keep the lights on.
Absolutely. Speed is everything.
Okay, let's talk about that speed. Segment 2, accelerating enrollment and reducing red tape. I think we all just assume bureaucracy is slow. So why are these specialists actually faster? How do they speed up something that can take half a year?
It's all about focus and institutional knowledge.
Yeah.
Your office manager might do credentialing once a quarter when you hire someone.
Right.
A specialist does this all day, every day. They know every little administrative landmine that can blow up an application before it's even submitted.
And they know the tools, right? We've seen these terms thrown around, CAQH profiles, PICOs. They sound designed to be confusing. For anyone who hasn't been deep in the admin weeds, can you explain why these are such big hurdles?
Of course. So CAQH, it's basically the universal database for provider credentials.
Yeah.
Every major commercial insurer uses it to verify everything.
Okay.
If that profile is even slightly incomplete or you forget to reattest it on time, which is a nightmare to track, the entire enrollment process for multiple insurers just freezes.
So one mistake in one system grinds everything to a halt.
Precisely. And PICOS is the Medicare version of that, another really complex system. A specialist doesn't just know the systems. They know each payer's little quirks.
Quirks.
Yeah, like Blue Cross in this state needs a real wet signature, but Aetna is fine with a digital one. Or the exact way you have to format an address to not get an automated rejection. They get it right the first time.
It sounds like they're anticipating the red tape before they even hit it. And this isn't just a feeling, right? We saw a big AMA report where physicians themselves called the process incredibly time-consuming.
That's right. And it's not just a hassle. When you speed up this process, you let providers start seeing patients sooner. Even the government knows this is a problem.
Well, Lily.
Yeah, we found a government analysis that said when they waived certain requirements during a crisis, it successfully reduced application processing times for Medicare. They took away the red tape and things moved faster.
So if the government admits removing red tape helps, the specialist's value is knowing exactly how to navigate the tape that's still there, making sure your new therapist can actually treat patients and get you paid.
That's it. The speed makes a real measurable difference.
Okay, let's talk about a hidden cost. Segment 3, cutting administrative burden and maximizing staff focus. When you ask your office manager to handle this, you're not just giving them a new task, you're stealing their time from everything else.
The burden is just relentless. I mean, the specific tasks that get offloaded they're constant. You're tracking renewal deadlines for state licenses, board certifications. You're meticulously maintaining that CAQH data we just talked about.
And the follow-up.
And the follow-up, that's maybe the worst part, the constant chasing of payer confirmations.
I can just imagine the hold music, the phone calls, waiting, sending the same document for the third time. That sounds like a part-time job by itself.
It is, and it's work that generates zero revenue. The source material called it a repetitive, time-consuming burden on staff. Think about it. If your scheduler is on the phone for 3 hours arguing about a typo on a form, that's 3 hours they weren't scheduling new patients or collecting copays.
And that's the so what for you, the listener. Offloading this lets your team focus on patient care and other things that actually grow the business. Your front desk staff should be focused on the patient experience, not chasing forms from Cigna.
Exactly. The service acts like a specialized admin support team for your clinic. It frees up your most important people. If your practice administrator is buried in credentialing, they can't think about marketing or hiring. It elevates the whole team's focus.
That makes so much sense. The ROI is really measured in focused staff time, which is so much more valuable. Okay, on to segment 4. Beyond billing. This is a big one. We need to draw a sharp line here for clinics that think, my billing team handles claims, so they can handle this. Why is that the wrong way to think about it?
It's a crucial difference in both function and timing. A billing team is focused on what happens after the service is done.
Coding, submitting the claim, fighting denials.
Right. Credentialing is about the rules of enrollment. It's the gatekeeping that happens before the service. It's what makes you authorized to even submit that claim in the first place.
So one gets you paid, the other gets you in the door so you can get paid.
You got it. The credentialing expert is dedicated to navigating that front door. They track all the changing payer rules, license renewals, compliance updates, and that focus leads directly to efficiency and, believe it or not, big cost savings.
Yeah, we found a really compelling financial example on this. This is hard data.
We did. A case study of a hospital found that when they outsourced their credentialing, they cut their annual costs from $100,000 to $75,000.
Wow, a 25% savings.
A 25% savings, while also getting faster and more accurate.
How does that work? How do you save 25%? It can't just be that the vendor fee is cheaper than a salary?
No, it's not just that. The savings come from a few places. First, yeah, you save on the internal salary and benefits. Second, you eliminate the cost of errors. Denials cost money and time to fix.
Right.
Third, you're getting revenue faster because of that day one billing. And fourth, the specialist is just more efficient. Their volume means they can do it faster and cheaper than you can internally.
Which makes the expertise a cost-effective strategy, not just another expense. So let's tie this back to denials one last time.
Right. A credentialing expert prevents enrollment denials before they can even happen. They make sure everything is perfect before a claim ever goes out the door. It stops the problem at the source.
instead of just treating the symptom.
Exactly. They fix the enrollment issues so your billing team isn't stuck fighting the paperwork war later on.
Okay, let's wrap this deep dive up. For you, the listener, we've looked at 5 critical benefits here, especially for PT, OT, and SLP clinics. First, you protect your revenue with day 1 billing.
You accelerate the whole enrollment process, cutting through the red tape.
You reduce the administrative burden on your key staff.
You get fewer denials because you're preventing the root cause.
And you leverage specialized expertise that actually saves you money. We saw that 25% savings.
Which leaves one last question for you to think about. If credentialing normally takes months, 2, 4, even 6 months, how much potential revenue is your practice losing right now? Or how much are you fighting for, just by assuming your general staff has the time and the very specific knowledge to handle all of this?
The hidden cost of doing it yourself. It almost always exceeds the cost of a dedicated solution. It really is a calculation of speed versus stagnation.
So the real question is your team chasing paperwork? Or are they maximizing the time they spend on patient care and growing the business? That choice really defines how successful you can be.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We hope this look at administrative strategy helps you safeguard your revenue. Until next time.